Nvidia and other semiconductor stocks like AMD, Intel, and even Broadcom were down a nice amount today. So in today's episode, I want to take a closer look at two bearish things impacting the semiconductor industry on Friday, and one bullish thing that I think many investors might have ignored. So let's get started, but too long, don't watch if you have something else to do. First, the two bearish things impacting the semiconductor market. First is going to be the overall macroeconomic data that is creating a lot of volatility in the stock market. The second thing is we are getting more discussions about these restrictions that the Biden administration is looking to add before the switch of administrations. And the one bullish thing that we have is TSMC just reported their December monthly numbers, and they completely beat expectations. Now, if you want to know more, check out the rest of the video where I discuss my overall thoughts and a lot more details of what happened. But if you don't, make sure to hit the thumbs up, make sure to hit the subscribe button, check out the pinned comment for a special offer at fool.com/Jose, and check out my free daily semiconductor newsletter, whatthechip.happened.com.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so like I mentioned, a lot of semiconductor stocks were down today. We can see Nvidia was down roughly 3%. AMD was down roughly 4.7%. The stock did get hit with another downgrade today, which is causing the stock to be a little bit more down than the others. Intel was down roughly 3.6%, and Broadcom was down roughly 2.8%. All right, so first let's talk about some macroeconomics. And the monthly job reports came out today, and unfortunate for the market, but fortunate for the economy, they were better than expected. And because they were better than expected, now Wall Street and investors expect that the Fed is less likely to cut down rates. And there's even some discussions by certain banks that it's no longer a discussion of cutting rates, but now it's a discussion of when will rates rise again. So obviously this kind of change in macroeconomics is creating a lot of volatility in the overall market space, right? And this is something that I guess as investors, I personally don't really care about too much, because things happen at the end of the day. The only thing I care about is, are the companies I'm investing, are they strong in cash? Are they low in debt? Do they have growth opportunities? And usually none of that really tends to worry too much about macroeconomics in the long term of things. Obviously, things like that can impact the company in the short term of things, but in the long term of things, it's not something that I necessarily worry about. But I wanted to share what's happening there. Now, the second thing that we are getting is, I talked about it in yesterday's episode, but we did hear that the Biden administration was looking to drop more restrictions on AI chips. And we did get a response here. We can see that NVIDIA's Vice President of Government Affairs sent an email statement to Barron's, and they mentioned that the extreme country cap policy will affect mainstream computers in countries around the world. Do nothing to promote national security, but rather push the world to alternative technology. So right now, for those that are not familiar, NVIDIA can't send AI chips to China and to Russia. The main reason is based on national security, but now it seems like these restrictions are expected to get even stricter and stricter, and it seems like many investors might be worried about NVIDIA's AI chip sales. Now, first, let me say, with the change of administration to the Trump administration, there's so much volatility right now in the semiconductor market, where obviously it could be both good or bad. If we see more export restrictions, that could be bad for semiconductors. If we see less regulations, which is kind of something that's being pushed right now, it could be bullish for companies like Nvidia. And when I was reading that statement from the Vice President of Global Affairs from Nvidia, it actually reminded me of something we just got from Microsoft a few days ago, especially when they talked about investing multiple billions of dollars in fiscal year. So remember this quote. They said it would do nothing to promote national security, but rather push the world to alternative technologies. Now, if we take a closer look at this blog that Microsoft presented on January 3rd, they called it the Golden Opportunity for American AI. And during this blog, the first thing that they kind of talked about is, or one of the segments, they talk about AI exports. And they mentioned that the United States needs a smart international strategy to rapidly support American AI around the world. And then they gave kind of a fundamental history lesson. They mentioned that, hey, look, about 20 years ago, when telecommunication equipment exports were kind of really growing at rapid levels, initially American and European companies were doing all the heavy lifting. But because of heavy regulations and because China kind of providing a lot of subsidies, it made a huge competition by Chinese player, and it allowed them to start kind of subsidizing the sales of products across the developing world. And the adoption of Chinese products outpaced the competition and became the backbone of numerous countries' telecommunication networks. Now, they mentioned fast forward into 2025 right now. Early signs suggest that the government of China is interested in replicating its telecommunication strategy with the AI space by offering developing countries subsidized access to AI chips, and it's promising to build local AI data centers. Microsoft believes that the best response for the United States is not to complain about the competition, but to ensure we win the race ahead. This will require that we move quickly, effectively to promote American AI as a superior alternative, and it will need the involvement and support of American allies and friends. And that the last thing that United States AI exports need is more and more regulation. So it kind of mirrors what Nvidia was saying, that, hey, look, right now, these regulations on the AI space is going to push countries all over the world to, instead of using United States AI technology, to use other countries' technologies. And in the future, that could be a huge pain, or a huge mistake, because then they have already built that infrastructure on other countries' infrastructure solutions instead of American, and that can push even more market opportunities outside of the United States. So pretty interesting. Again, in the semiconductor market, with any administration, you're always going to get a lot of volatility, because these are products that are used in the most advanced technology. So expect the volatility. Now, the bullish thing impacting the semiconductor market is TSM reports monthly numbers. And for December of 24th, they did mention that their month over month increased by about 1%, their year over year increased by 57.8%, and their overall full year, January 2023 to December of 2023 versus 2024, grew about 34%. So we can see that right now the semiconductor market is still growing at nice levels, and this is very bullish for the AI space, because that's where we know a lot of demand is at right now. The other things is, I do want to say this is probably very bullish for a lot of semiconductor companies that deal with consumer electronics. Remember, the chips that are being built now are not being sent as a finished product just yet. They still need to go into laptops, they still need to go into desktops, they still need to go into cell phones. So this kind of gives me a early sign that in the, maybe not this upcoming quarter, but for the upcoming quarters, maybe the next 2 quarters, we should expect a nice positive reaction or some positive guidance for the export for guidance on consumer electronics. And I think that's very bullish for the overall semiconductor space, and I'm very excited of what it's gonna come with. Maybe the adoptions of the increased momentum in PCs, the increased momentum in maybe smartphones, and a lot of semiconductor companies can benefit out of that. Companies like Micron Technology, right? Because at the end of the day, TSMC, while maybe they don't manufacture Micron's technology's memory products, memory are used in every type of electronics that these chips are going to go into. So these revenue expectations for the month did beat analyst expectations, which again, in my opinion, bodes really well for the semiconductor market. So I hope you guys enjoyed this quick video. Take care, have a good day, and see you all next time.